Jaron, in searching for the meaning of consciousness, a number of other issues come to the fore. Transcendence, enlightenment, altered states. I'm trying to get my hands around all of these concepts to see if it can help us to understand this thing we call consciousness. And I come to you because you've really created an altered state that people had never imagined before, virtual reality. And can that help us understand some of these more ancient traditions?
Wow. First of all, virtual reality plays with the objective world that you sense. It doesn't directly do anything to your head, at least in its current incarnations.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's always been an interaction between people interested in virtual reality and people interested in altered states. And it's one that I have found to be awkward. The first thing to say is I'm one of the very few people from my milieu or from my generation who hasn't used drugs. And I've just always had this intense feeling that it was the wrong thing for me. I don't even drink alcohol at all. I knew Timothy Leary quite well, and he used to call me the control group. But the problem, of course, with altered states is we have to, the empirical techniques are extremely fuzzy, maybe to the point that they're simply not usable. When people report, well, I've experienced this and that, sometimes you have the sense of insecurity. Wow, have I experienced that level of oneness or whatever it might be? I'll tell you, the first thing I want to say is that I think ordinary consciousness is more extraordinary and more remarkable than what people report of altered states, which are usually, I think if you consider them carefully, a little bit more narrow. Just experiencing a slice of pizza, which we just had, is so full and rich, and the sense of oneness is maybe more abstract. And in a sense, I'm sort of more amazed with the experience of the pizza.
When you really think about it.
When you really, if you really, yeah. But then, let me try to address it a little bit more seriously. There are a variety of traditions in the world that are a little like virtual reality. The most prominent one is the Amazonian idea of certain drugs that connect people psychically so that they're in a shared world and can create experiences for each other for teaching. And this is the yahe or ayahuasca. Haven't tried it myself. I know a zillion people who have. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, this is going to upset a lot of people. I'm just not impressed. It just seems like people become kind of fuzzy and over time, and they report these amazing things, but then instead of developing ever sharper insights, it seems to kind of fuzz out. And I just don't think I just don't think that stuff's a great path. I'm sorry. It's just my experience with it, and watching a lot of people who've done it doesn't impress me too much.
It's more of a distortion of the real amazing stuff which we have, which we don't appreciate.
I think the problem, I once compared it to traveling someplace on foot versus flying there, where you don't see all the intermediate stuff. So even accepting the claims of the legitimacy of the arrival, if you just fly into a place, maybe there isn't enough context or something. Listen, I don't know. It's so hard to say anything about this stuff, but the other thing I gotta say is that people who are talking about altered states or special insights, they're all too often running scams. And I think anytime at all that we talk about something that isn't based on science as an empirical discipline, we have to become incredibly careful not to be taken in by scam artists. And it's just the easiest thing in the world for somebody to say, here, I can show you the state, and people build empires over that. And it is possible to show people states so they can be authentically offering something, but I find it to be a scary business, and it's not one I'm comfortable with. So the thing is, the position I'm in is really tough because the really hardcore anti-consciousness people think I'm a flake, and then all the sort of sweet, new agey religious people think that I'm like a hardcore science guy. Like, being in the middle is hard. It's not the place to make friends, but I really do think it's the most true position.